life choices. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, click the button on the bottom right, click the notifications bell, and you'll be informed when I upload new content. Now, we've covered this topic before in some depth, but I want to take a new angle on this. How we make decisions. The previous video was what should you do? And more recently I've had some life choices to make, and I was aided in those choices through reading the Bhagavad Gita. And I'd like to describe to you how that book has, in some way that I can't really define, although I'm going to try, helped me come to some choices, some quite big life choices. The Gita is set in a war zone. The principal character, Arjuna, is facing an impossible decision, sending his troops into battle, causing the death of many, many thousands on both sides. Families that he knows, uncles, cousins, will perish on his command, and he is guided in these decisions by Krishna, who is driving his chariot. Krishna is the embodiment of the god Vishnu, so this is, if you like, advice and direction from a higher power. And I would argue that we don't need charioteers to guide us, but of course this is an analogy for the deeper truth that resides within us all, the divinity within, the part of us that is beyond the difficulties that we appear to be facing. And if we can find that part of us that transcends the story of our lives, then there we can find wisdom. This is the Taoist authentic self, or Gen Ren. And what came across to me from reading the Gita recently was, well, many insights, and it's profound in its language, and there's such richness there. You could spend a lifetime, as with the Tao Te Ching, studying it. But something resonated with me, and it was about, well, it was twofold really. It was about doing one's duty and act as though your actions were holy. And I'm not going to pretend that I can describe to you what that means, because I don't really know what it means to me, if I'm to be honest. But there's something about acting in the world through one's higher self, and if you want to incorporate that within the story of you, then it comes close to duty, or acting as though your actions were holy. And it's difficult to incorporate that for me personally into my life, in terms of being able to explain to you and define exactly how that's affected me, but it has. And I suppose what I'm offering here is the idea that we can get so taken away by a list of pros and cons and what one should do in a situation for the best, and play out all the different scenarios and maybe ask advice of others, and we can be caught on the horns of that dilemma forever. And then sometimes we have to give up the effort and rest in that eternal truth deep within us. And sometimes to find that place we need help. And I would argue that the Tao Te Ching and the Bhagavad Gita can provide that framework, that help. Not so much by looking at those writings for answers, but simply by reading them and allowing the words to flow through you, and maybe rereading passages that potentially have a deeper effect than others, that chime that distant bell of truth, so to speak. And then, despite your efforts, despite your logical, deductive reasoning skills, you come to a decision from another place. And you'll know then, once you've made the decision, because it will feel true, because it's made from truth, a truth that transcends the particular situations that are unfolding in the world. We try to look for the answers by looking more deeply at the details that are being presented to us, but often that just gets us nowhere. It just makes things more and more complicated. The lists of pros and cons increase. The horns of the dilemma just get wider, and the chasm between them deeper, and the decision almost impossible to make. But from this other place of acting through duty or holiness, if that helps, those words might not work for you. It's as close as I can get within the illusion of self to what allowed me to make the decision I've made, and I'm at peace with it. But they were just words. The actual feeling, the deeper truth behind them, cannot be known, cannot be touched, cannot be described, cannot be laid out as the reason why the decision feels good. The decision feels good despite the conditioned mind and the logical thought processes and the pros and cons and the lists and the playing out of the scenarios into the future. Despite all that, that all gets negated by the deeper truth and the deeper knowing that I'm doing the right thing. Life choices. Sometimes we need help, and the help has to come from very strange places. And we can help ourselves in those life choices and decisions by perhaps not focusing on so much on the surface, but going deep within. And we can go deep within through self-enquiry, and some of the great writings and teachers and the perennial wisdoms can help with that journey, that inner journey, and then through that deeper realization can come actions in the world, and those actions feel true, they feel holy, they feel dutiful, they are right.